Quiet. Oh, it must be 6 o'clock. I want to call the Wood Village City Council meeting to order, January 23rd, 2024, and at 6 p.m. And we start our meeting with a land acknowledgement statement. Councilor Tan, are you?
Yes, I'd love to. The Chinookan peoples known as the Clackamas and Cascades are the indigenous people of the land now inhabited by the city of Wood Village and other areas of the Columbia River. The village of Nechitoches, now referred to as Nechokali, was located near today's Blue Lake Park. Ancestral life of these peoples included a seasonal round of resource gathering and stewardship from the Wapato fields and fishing areas of the Columbia River to the cedar and huckleberry gathering areas in the High Cascades. Introduced disease from early settlers dramatically reduced the number of these people. They signed the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 with the United States government and were forcibly removed to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and protectors of these lands since time immemorial. We also acknowledge the systematic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous Native American families today. We're honored by the collective work of many Native nations, leaders, and families who are demonstrating resilience, resistance, revitalization, healing, and creativity. We're honored to be the guests upon these lands.
Thank you, Councilor Tan. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have citizens' comments next, but before we open that up to citizen comments, we just went through, as we all know, about 7 days of one of the worst storms that I can remember. And I moved to Wood Village in 1967 with my parents. I haven't stayed there all those years, but certainly one of the worst storms that I've seen in East County, and I think a lot of people share those comments that I've been talking to. I want to turn it over to our city manager, Greg Dirks. And Greg, why don't you make some comments here, because I know that you've been communicating with individuals. The team has met. So I know you're in the middle of some of that debriefing, but why don't you go ahead and make some comments, please?
Yes, Council, we did receive a number of comments related to our response, or in many cases, lack thereof. I'm not going to make excuses for any of it. The flat out story is we failed in a lot of areas where it mattered a lot. Yes, we do have team, and right now we are hiring for a couple positions, so it's even smaller than usual. Our resources are designed to fit our relatively smaller community. This was a challenging storm in terms of changing forecasts and things like that, as well as utility responses with the freezing temperatures at first, keeping our own utilities active and functioning, as well as responding to private, mostly water breaks, helping people turn off their water. And making sure our equipment was still functioning. Despite all that, we had a number of self-inflicted issues that hampered our response of what could have been, not just including as things started to thaw out and mitigate towards the end of last week, but even just, yesterday as we're out meter reading, there are some things we could have done. There were some intersections that still were spotty ice, shaded areas that still have some ice. And to say we failed, I failed. My leadership and response hampered our community's expectations. We say we are here to serve, and we didn't. And I own that. And while apologies ring hollow when people can't get to work, that may be essential workers at hospitals or other places of business that can't check on loved ones, that can't do essential tasks, that doesn't change that fact. What we do know are there are a lot of lessons learned and things we need to change. Some of them will be fairly immediate. Others may take some time, including language and collective bargaining agreements, for example, and just making things clear and what those expectations are. While every storm is different and you respond differently, you don't self-inflicted things that were caused. And that, this isn't to, say dwell on or put, ourselves down. It's to learn from it, bounce back and do better next time. And I hope the community can allow us that time to respond differently. And that we will respond differently. And that, again, I apologize for you needed us and we didn't respond.
Thank you, Mr. Dirks. And I'm just going to say a couple things here following Mr. Dirks' comments. There's not a city right now in East County or this metropolitan region that did everything right. So we're going to own what we need to own, and we're going to deal with it. Staff is going to be discussing this. They're going to go through it, and council is going to meet with them. And we will hear what the changes are going to be and what we can do better. But there is nobody that's performed with perfection during this storm. So I'm going to leave it at that right now. I do have Becky, let me open it up now. Any public comments, phoned in or otherwise?
I think I expressed, we had a number of phone calls and kind of expressed the concerns people have. I don't know if there's anyone in here that wishes to express anything. We do, if they do, please just sign in and then.
Mr. Moore, we've talked, so
I'm Gary Moore.
Gary, come on up and
Gary.
have a seat.
I wrote multiple emails to Greg and the mayor and to some of the council about unhappiness with the way things went. And I really appreciate what you just said, that you guys are owning up to it. But it was pretty difficult. I don't know if anybody from here actually drove on our roads, but they were terrible. I've got a mom that needs attending to that's in her 80s. My wife's a nurse. I got to get her to work. Just was real unhappy with ordinance, but I do appreciate what you had.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. And my conversation with you when I followed up with a phone call, I thought you were understanding, but you still had some serious problems getting out of your house.
Yeah.
And you had the extending to the family members, and I do understand that. And as
I
I
had
shared
to
with
chain up to get out of my driveway because my mom lost power and she lives a couple of miles away, and come get her and bring her home. So,
thank you.
yeah, it was.
Thank you. I'll close public comments in this unless there's something else, and then I'll let.
So I
council
guess
take
I have a question. Who do I call? Because I know you jumped on it, right? I appreciate that. But who do I call? I emailed you.
Oh, that's the worst thing to do, Gary. I don't,
We don't-
Gary, you can email me, Gary. I know you and I
Yeah,
have
I
talked in the
emailed
past.
you also.
So, understand, can
I
we
just
do
know
better?
really who to contact.
text me, Gary.
No, seriously, no, Gary.
Live right across the street.
I would be that contact person, between Greg and I.
And if you-
will respond. Again,
Yeah, I got a response from Greg.
And
we
again,
will do a better job.
if you need to call and let's just say,
Hopefully I won't.
Hey, you know what?
Right.
Here, let's,
as a public service announcement, not just for you, but those here listening from home, listening later, we may be closed in person sometimes for inclement weather. You can always call our main line and and that's whether during opening hours or even after hours, we have an on-call service that you will get a live person. So always first, try our main line.
Yeah.
Which for the record, it's 503-611.
okay.
I'm sorry, you had a question?
Well,
We need to move on through the agenda, but I'm sure you'll walk
well,
by.
and certainly, you may be neighbors, I don't know.
I walk by his house. In
But
fact,
Counselor,
We live right across the street
I know.
from each other, and
he told me,
yeah, we see each other all the time, but I was I couldn't leave my house for 12 days. And I didn't, as you probably saw in my driveway, but I thought I was pretty fortunate that I had electricity and I had sewer and I had water. So I was pretty content
We had.
with all of that.
I understand.
I was keeping track of a lot of people in my church, especially that were being taken to all kinds of other people's homes. They didn't have electricity, and those that couldn't even get out of their homes, or inside their homes was 36 degrees, and they're putting this on Facebook. And I was wondering, how do they have power to do that? But anyway, I was like, good grief, and I couldn't go rescue them. Of course, I wasn't going to do it anyway. The kids that live right next door to me, they took down their driveway and I don't know what they ran into, but they got out of their car and they're taking pictures of it after whatever they ran into. I'm talking about the Pearsons, right? And anyway, but they did come around with a sander. And I didn't
Eventually.
pay attention to when that was, but anyway,
I'm sorry,
yes, no problem.
there's more.
Yes,
public
yes,
comment,
go
so-
for it.
Okay,
And
Public comment if,
Yes, go
Yeah.
for it.
and I also,
I'm done.
thank you.
okay.
Karen.
Yeah.
Are any other public
Thanks, Mr.
comment?
Moore.
Okay. Council,
Yes, yes, hi. Lynn.
we're going to move on. This is for public comments, but if we have.
there is another public
Oh,
comment.
And I have a
I missed it.
Into,
I-
again, phone calls and emails related to our unhoused population, specifically related
That's
to Halsey and Sandy Boulevard. Between, the city, the sheriff's office, Hope team, we've really tried to take a very compassionate approach, understanding approach, and relying on the county's joint office to be that, main provider and source of resource. And patience has ran out, I think is safe to say from community members. And so just so people do know, we are aware of that. There are several laws that dictate what we can and can't do. But within those, there are things we can do to elevate, especially with Multnomah County and getting things on the ground here in East County, by East County, east of 181st, in the three smaller cities. And we're working on that. I had a very frank conversation with Commissioner Stegman and some of her staff last week, having a conversation this week with the Hope team, and those will continue and be elevated until we actually see things on the ground out here.
Thank you, Greg. And I know you're doing that because we're having those conversations, and the three mayors here in the area, Wood Village, Troutdale, and Fairview, are in the same kind of conversations. So thanks for the effort and the work on that. Now, if there's no other public comments,
I have a public comment.
Counselor, yeah,
Well, you asked me to do a public comment last time.
and you're welcome to make a comment here,
Okay.
a public comment. All right.
Yes, I put, make that really clear. This is a public.
Do you want to then go to the?
Yeah,
Would you like me to?
Counselor, yeah, please.
And I live at 112 Elm Avenue in Wood Village. Some of this feels like a little bit bleeds into my counselor work, or maybe my dedication to the community is a better way to say it. But working at the warming shelter, I am employed by Multnomah County, and I was able to get overtime, which is fantastic. It's a great way to staff those shelters. Staffing those shelters is incredibly hard work. Volunteering is, I don't even know how I can conceptualize people that don't get paid. It's really important that we get paid and are allowed overtime. I have worked around shelters administratively. I've worked in shelters through Joint and Central City Concern, some of the most safety net of safety nets when it comes to healthcare. In my 5 shelter shifts, I have never seen people so sick. We were handing out bags for withdrawals. Like the level of mental illness that I saw, this is human suffering that I guess I didn't understand. And I should have, like wounds that I don't want to describe. Our citizens, this cannot be okay. The fentanyl crisis, I just want to underscore how amazing that the shelter response is. It needs work. We need work. We need to be able, there's a lot of feedback, and I asked the mayor if we could meet so that I could tell him about my experiences, that there's work to be done, but also I just, as a citizen, want to highlight how intense of an experience that was. I think we served like 3,000 people countywide for those days with freezing temperatures. And then Commissioner Stegman kept another East County shelter open for our residents, which I think is life-saving. And lastly, I would also like to continue to encourage a ceasefire. So through our government, or any way that I can say this, the humanitarian crisis needs to be addressed in a ceasefire as possible in Gaza. And I would like to express my support for that as a citizen.
Thank you. Now we can put on your other hat and come on back over here.
Yeah, just like.
Thank you, Counselor Amend. All right. Now, anybody called in since I last asked this question? We good?
Be good?
Okay. Thank you for the time and again, staff for getting some of the information out on the weather event. And Mr. Moore, thanks for being here and sharing your comments with us. We are now going to move on to the Community Member of the Year Award presentation. So, Jim, I'm going to read some things and then I want to come over here with you. This is quite a, once a year, we, City of Wood Village selects a Community Member of the Year Award. And we always have several applicants, and it is always a hard choice. Our plaque is right there on the wall, and this is now formally our third year in honoring a citizen. And tonight and for this year, Mr. Jim Mott. And Jim, if you just stand up for a minute while we yeah, what I want to do, I'm going to read through this and then council, some of you know Jim, might have worked with him. So when I finish this, if you care to make a comment, please do that. Jim began serving on the Planning Commission in 2006. He's been on the Planning Commission liaison to the Parks Commission. He serves on Main Streets on Halsey Committee. Some of these obligations may not sound like much, but they consume a lot of a person's time, evening meetings and conversations. He's been engaged in youth sports and activities, including Play East. He's a multi-year platinum community partner for our Wood Village City events. That means he continues to support again and again and again, year after year and event after event. Volunteered hours helping restore the softball fields and former community garden. Donated signs, metal brackets, and other items for the city use and benefit. One of the signs sits on that'd be the northeast corner, identifying the Robertson Park. So it goes on, and beyond each one of those I've read, there's little sub bullets about the kinds of work that he's done. I personally have seen Jim. I don't know him from any other experience other than knowing he's involved here and being on some of our meetings. But I did attend the last Parks meeting, and I saw Jim with that group of people. And not only does he donate his time and that he has a real sense of including people in conversations and discussion. and fostering engagement from those committees he's on. So Jim, it's an honor for us to be able to recognize you. And I do now want to turn it over to the council. So I can start, whoever would like to make a comment.
I am so pumped to make a comment. Hi, Jim, Lene Amond. We've kind of not been in the same circles, maybe been in the same circles, but through my 43 years in East County and got a clear line of sight now. And in Gresham, you employed a good friend of mine who is such a good friend. They're a family member. She's my sister. And what I do know of you is that you have consistently shown up for our community. You have consistently cared for her, for my family in a way that goes beyond just an employer. You know, like you really care about what happens in people's lives. And I don't have to know you very well to know that. And I'm super pumped. And I told Lacey, I was like, hey, guess who's getting the Citizen of the Year award? And Jim Mott. She's like, well, duh, of course. Of course he is. Who wouldn't? Yeah, she is. Anyone wanted to extend her congratulations and also just like lack of surprise. Yeah, thank you.
Others?
Yeah, I would like to echo what Councillor Lene mentioned. As part of Play East, Jim has been a great supporter as well and has impacted community members indirectly by also being a sponsor of Play East. And so allowing us to provide scholarships, equipment, free programming to the community. Jim definitely wants to invest in his community. So really appreciate that, Jim.
Others?
Although I'm not allowed to say that Jim and I are friends, I do consider him one when my wife is not around because Jim and Mary served on the Planning Commission together and on the Parks Commission together for many years. And so anytime I tell her that I saw Jim Mott and he's, and say anything positive, she says, well, he's my friend. He's not your friend. So I have to always back up at that point. So I am passing this on to you. Mary's congratulations. Okay.
Well, Jim, I don't know you personally, but I'm a newer counselor, almost a year in term, but being honored with this is a lot in itself. Just listening to everything that you've done, excuse me, for the community speaks volumes, and I just want to thank you personally. So thank you. And I look forward to working with you more.
So Jim, let's go out here and let's go and do a little picture taking, okay?
Yay.
So we're going to do a photo with Jim and then Mayor as well after
Ah.
that. So we'll
Get the-
We wheel my chair over there.
Get up.
Let's see.
Well, I always will believe it for a second.
Yeah, I know you did.
It's like, we need some help over here. We'll see
Make this
now.
work.
Hey,
Okay.
bro, he needs,
I
he needs
got
a,
you.
needs a little lift.
I got you.
I already got the gym this morning.
Oh, that looks better.
Oh, that's too bad.
Pretty good.
Oh, look, he's.
They're done.
Oh,
They're done.
Great.
Should I pause?
Hang on a minute. Here we go.
Okay, quit looking at the plaque.
get
All right.
Oh, should I do?
Jim,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
You just push me where you want.
okay, no, I'm coming up right here.
Where are we going?
Oh. Now, family, if you'd like to do any other pictures, I know we can Then you got your single.
So there's a little blue spot over.
It looks like Becky has identified that sweet spot right there.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Same background.
Give me your cell phone.
Oh, yeah, the whole Mott family.
Yeah.
All I introduce is they come up. So that's my son Clay and I love.
Oh, Dove.
Look at her outfit.
I know. Hi. Yay. Super cuties. Dove, look at her.
All right, here's to the legend of Mott. Let's see, Jim? Don't leave you. Oh, right here.
We have a big check for you, just.
Yeah, it's.
Sign it.
Taste of Woodville, gift certificates, there, to, lunchtime, go down and get a burrito or whatever, okay? Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Enjoy your dinner.
Brandon works for them. I've heard some of the projects.
Okay.
Pretty incredible. Yeah. She used to work in like the nineties. No.
All right, next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. The consent agenda, is there any questions? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item up, the presentation, Metro update. Metro Councilor Ashton Simpson. Mr. Simpson, nice to have you with us.
Good to be.
I know we didn't get a chance to see you at the last meeting because you were ill and not just a little bit ill, but it's nice to have you here with us tonight and it's your opportunity to, as we've talked before, you can talk about Metro and some of the highlights and some of the, maybe the goals that you have as the new Metro councilor.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Glad to be on this side of the living. I'll take that. Thank you, Mayor Minor. Thank you, councilors. Thank you for having me here today in beautiful Wood Village. My name is Ashton Simpson. I am your district representation on the Metro Council, so I'm proud to be here. I wanted to share a little bit about myself, my priorities as a councilor, and the portfolio that I do hold. I've had the opportunity to connect with some of you, but for those that I haven't met, I look forward to getting to know you. And if you don't know me, I love a walk and talk. So if I'm like, hey, let's go for a walk and meeting, let's get it. So about me, I'm a proud East County resident, but I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I don't know if you can hear that in my accent. I'm an Air Force veteran, father, community activist, and advocate. And as of January last year, so I'm just over clocking in a year, I've been your district representation. And as you can imagine, with the portfolio we have at Metro, it's been a year of just download, download, download. So I'm finally glad to be here in front of you. Prior to serving on the Metro Council, I was the executive director at Oregon Walks. We did a lot of partnership walks out here in the community with groups. And before that, I was at the Rosewood Initiative as a community asset planner. So I'm deep roots with working with community on the ground here in this community. So I got to do it tonight. Some of my key priorities and what drives me to do this work are obviously transportation and safety. Particularly around pedestrian safety and micromobility. That's been a huge topic and issue for me the past 5 years, particularly the last 3, because every year we've outpaced ourselves in fatalities when it comes to pedestrians. So making sure that folks can get around safely and have access to transit and everyday places has always been a priority of mine, and particularly out in East County where we know we don't have very many walkable communities. There are some pockets and some spots, but there are too many gaps that exist. Really big in jobs and workforce development, particularly in my background in the military. I was a civil engineering technician. You might hear the term jack of all trades, master of none. You were too? You were at EA?
I was a master of 555.
Oh, okay. I was a 3E5 X1. Yeah. And then resiliency and emergency preparedness are also part of, especially considering what we went through with this ice storm. I think that given some of the challenges that I heard you all speak on today, it might be worthwhile for us to think about what does it mean to stand up a regional emergency operating center so we can have better coordination among our small cities. That was something that I did in my background. I specialized in working in emergency operating centers. And then access to green spaces for all our East County residents. Councilor Rios Campos here, he did partner with me for the Blue Lake informational session. And if you don't know, Blue Lake, we took feedback from community members so we can say, hey, what would you like this new Blue Lake to look like as we go into this construction period? And it's been a really good partnership with Councilor Hyro here. So I also want to share a few of my committee assignments, and I had sorry, I forgot your name. Miss Trudy back here. She asked me I said, no, it's a third, but it feels full. So I sit on JPAC, which is our Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation. That is our highest level body on transportation in the region. We pass things like the Regional Transportation Plan, MTIPs, so that we can get projects funded like the Halsey Main Street project, which I am a big proponent and advocate for. Visitor Development Fund Board, that is our Travel Portland and Expo Center and Events Board. So making sure that we have enough tourism and events coming into the space to support our economy. Greater Portland Inc., that is our body where we recruit, retain, and entice industry and different industries to come into the space while also supporting those like Microchip and other established businesses that exist in the region. I'm a Zoo Foundation board member. I also sit on the Natural Areas Capital Performance Oversight Committee, which is tied to our 2019 Parks and Nature Bond, which oversees how we get that money out on the ground. And then finally, the Urban Flood Safety Water Quality District Board, which we just had a tough meeting today. I'm sure Mr. Reese,
Yes.
Seth Reese, update all of y'all on that. So one thing I've heard over is that constituents, cities, and community partners want Metro to follow up. And Metro has a reputation for coming up and giving these presentations or asking for engagement and then not closing the loop. One of my goals is to help complete that circle, to create a relationship where we're keeping each other informed and making sure that we follow up when we say we will. Now, you'll notice today that I'm sort of starting with the basics. The direction we received from Wood Village for this meeting was to start at the beginning. And since this is my first time before you, I think it's a great place to start. I'll also give you a little update on the housing bond progress and what it means for our region. And what I want you to know is that I'm looking forward to building this the next time I come here, bringing relevant information to you so that you can expand your capacity as a city. So let's get started with trash. Metro's main function, and I'll talk a bit about our RID patrol, which is our Regional Illegal Dumping Patrol. We are all tired of seeing so much trash lining our streets, and Metro plays a role in leading the effort to clean up our streets. We doubled our RID patrol crews in the last year and now have 6 crews roving the region to clean up things. And in the last year, our crews have picked up more than 880 tons of trash from the region. That's oftentimes picked up and the day it's reported. And in this time, we've noticed a major shift in behavior since the pandemic. A lot more people seem to think it's okay to dump their household items on the street. Our RID patrol continues to try to chip away at this problem, though through both cleanup and enforcement. You can make a report on our website at ridpatrol.oregonmetro.gov, and you can also see our performance dashboard and track when your report gets cleaned up. So Metro also manages the urban growth boundary under state law and works with residents, elected leaders, community groups, and researchers to plan for future public population growth. And if you didn't catch our work session today, our council got an update on that. Right now, we're in the process of synthesizing a lot of this information because we pulled together a stakeholder roundtable last fall so that we can launch methods development and assessment of buildable land inventory. Then we moved into fall winter with a youth cohort launch where city and county review preliminary buildable land inventory results. And then coming this spring, 2024, city proposal submissions for potential urban growth boundary expansion areas. So far, we've received one from the city of Sherwood on the west side to expand the urban growth boundary out so that they can develop for housing and employment centers. And then in the summer, the draft urban growth report, the regional population, household, and employment forecasts, and public comment on the draft urban report and city expansion proposals will happen this summer. So I'm going to move over a little bit into affordable housing and talk a bit about how our affordable housing bond program has made incredible progress all over the region, which is, I feel like these are one of those things that goes unnoticed because our problem is so in your face and so big, but we're doing some good work. So here in District 1, we opened the Good Shepherd Village Apartments, opened in November in Happy Valley, bringing us to over 1,000 apartments open from the 2018 bond in just 2 years across the region. We have nearly 2,600 apartments in permitting or design currently. And thanks to smart investment, strict oversight, and prepared partners, we're on pace to exceed our goals. We told voters we'd build housing for 12,000 people. We now expect to build housing for more than 14,000 people. So as you can see on this slide, the bond is funding projects all over the region and not condensing poverty. The green dots show projects that have opened. The blue dots are under construction, and the light blue dots are permitting or design. And we have a good mix out here in East County, and I love to see that. So in August, and I'm gonna make a plug here if you got time. This Thursday at our council meeting at 10:30, we'll be getting our auditor's report on the supporting housing services so far and where we are. So the auditor's report will, the auditor will report out to the council on this Thursday. So in August, we received preliminary results from the second year of the Regional Supportive Housing Services Program. Multnomah County has made some progress in addressing homelessness in this region. The county has nearly 1,100 shelter beds that either opened brand new or were set to close without funding from metro area voters. It helped nearly 15,000 people avoid eviction and homelessness, and it placed more than 2,700 people into permanent housing. Overall, region-wide, we've helped nearly 5,800 people into housing, opened 1,700 shelter beds. The progress, obviously, Councilor Amend, she gave that powerful testimony, but things can never move fast enough, but we are working to try to make sure things happen and keep a good oversight and stringent oversight over those dollars to make sure they get out the door and get to the people that need it. So again, I spoke a little bit about this, but the regional transportation plan, and if this is a lot, I'm gonna give this slide deck to Greg Gonna give it to all y'all. So the RTP is our blueprint to guide investment for all forms of travel, whether driving, walking, biking, or taking transit, and for moving goods throughout the greater Portland Metro. The Metro Council approved the 2024 RTP just right before December. So I was right before I was sick. We got that through the door because of a federal mandate. We have to have that completed every 5 years and submitted by December 6th on that year. So the next one coming up is in, what is this? 28 will be the next one. So our community has supported the Oregon Zoo's mission of conservation for decades, and millions of people have enjoyed the unique family-friendly educational experiences that a visit to the zoo can provide. Thanks to support and successful implementation of the 2008 Zoo Bond, the zoo is better than ever. We can be proud of what we accomplished with community support and what it means to Oregon and beyond. And it's time to think about what's next. We have improved the zoo tremendously, but there is still so much more that needs to happen to improve animal habitats, visitor accessibility, and sustainability. Through engagements with community, zoo guests, and staff, and a variety of technical experts, staff are completing a new campus plan that envisions the next advancement of animal care. So that 2008 Zoo Bond brought the improvements at the zoo to 40%. So if you ever wanted a tour with me, I will definitely bring you to the backside of the zoo. So see the other 60% that needs to be updated.
We want to do that as a
I
council.
want to make a note of that.
Field trip.
He's gonna make us shovel like.
He'll know to set us up all a field trip to go to the zoo together. How about?
Yes, please. Does that have to be recorded publicly? Or is that?
I'm not shoveling anything.
If it was the full council at one time, we would have to, notice that because it's a quorum and, fact finding and things, but I'll connect with Mario.
We can follow up on that, do it legally.
It's healthy for folks.
We can do it.
I think, we see the zoo, we see the dollars that go in it, and we know our kids love it, the zoo lights, we love all of those things, but really, we also have to think about animal welfare and the state and condition of which those habitats are right now. Some are still in the condition they were when they were built in the 50s. And so we have to make sure that we balance that out while also expanding wildlife education for our youth and making a campus that is more streamlined, but also more robust in how we do more learning across our state. So Expo Center. All right, so this is a fun one. And if you don't know about this one, I encourage you to get involved. Metro is studying whether to make the Expo Center a facility that can host sports tournaments. So when you think sports tournaments, think amateur basketball or volleyball or skating, or in the case of what we hosted last year in the Juneteenth rodeo, those kinds of amateur sports more so on that stage. So these types of tournaments will bring in visitors to our region and support our economy. Well, we are beginning our sports and feasibility study with our consultant. I don't sit on that side of the house. I actually sit on the historical culture side of the house. So we're making sure that we uplift not only the indigenous people and the lands that existed there, but also the stories of Vanport and stories of internment. Those are some very painful things to contend with and talk about. But we have a good body and a good facilitators in Counselor Ed Washington. He was a Metro counselor before me and my time. I think I was still a kid when he was doing it. And Lynn, I forget her last name, but she was executive director at the Japanese Garden. And that has been some fruitful conversations. And hopefully we can build a new sporting complex that blends a lot of that history and rich culture, but also talk about how we heal and move forward through sport and through play. So that's all I've got for you today. I wanted to make sure to take this opportunity to let you know that I'd love to keep the conversation going. I'm excited about a series of meetings with the District 1 managers, which I already met with Greg and the three others, Troutdale, Wood Village, Fairview, and Gresham. And please let me know if you would like to find some time to connect. As you know, you can always reach out to Marielle. And also if you'd like to keep up, you know, I got to keep up with these kids. I got to do that. Instagram. And I'm always posting some things on there. So if you want to know what's happening, you know, send me a follow.
Counselor Simpson, thank you for that. There's lots of information there, so I want to make sure we have time for council to ask any questions or follow up on any of his presentation. So I'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, Counselor Simpson and I have had the privilege on working on small projects and my hope is that, we continue to work on those, obviously with focus in recreation and green spaces. That is a huge piece for me. I did just have one question on one of the slides that I think we've seen quite often, and I know you guys are on pace on your affordable housing, but East County, and when we talk East County, that's, for me, it's 181st this way. A lot of people say 122nd, 165th, but 181st this way. There's only been, I believe, 2 housing developments for affordable housing done in the 22 years I've lived here. And so for me, though that is something huge and something I know our city and our council, we've, made a priority for us is look at co-op models for our mobile home parks. And those are the way we see our residents build generational wealth. And it's kind of already established affordable housing. So, I just put that out there that should be, hopefully can be a consideration in future discussions when you guys go out for housing bonds and affordable.
The next one?
Yeah, or I mean, just,
Yeah.
further discussions of how can we include those established locations into something where our community can take, matters into their own hands and become those voices of that area and things of that nature. So.
I appreciate that, Counselor Rios Campos. I'll say this, I know that our affordable housing has to stretch out further, and I agree with you. I think right at 181st is Rockwood Village, right? I think that's probably the newest and the latest one, right? And then before that, I think the next one is like, the newest one is 160th and Stark, the Aurora. With that said, I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about Housing Bond 2.0 because so are we. Nothing set in stone right now. Is still a staff project, but we are taking back some of that feedback. So I'm gonna make sure Marielle connects you with our housing director and deputy director so that you can elevate your concerns around what you need.
I wanted to kind of add and had a question about that. How do you determine what areas you decide to have the affordable housing? Just looking at the map, it just looked more concentrated in more like the Portland area.
So I believe that's a process that is in partnership with a local jurisdiction. So you all, a developer, and then also the Metro Dollars. And I think some of it also depends on where it's landed at. I mean, for me, I'll be honest, I would love to see more housing along transit lines because then we could leverage transit-oriented development dollars. That means we could get an extra floor or two of housing and have more density for folks. So I'm gonna get a better answer for you. I'm gonna make sure Marielle gets that to you because I think right now, as it exists right now, these projects were already scoped. And so we are getting ready to see all of the drawdown of the collection of those affordable housing dollars start to draw down this year through 2026. So you'll see all of these blue dots by 2028 be green.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Others? Counselor?
Oh, I have one more.
Go ahead.
Every down Thursday at 10:30. Is that your council meeting?
Yes, so we meet as a council every Tuesday and Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Tuesdays are council work sessions. And Thursdays are actual council meetings.
Good. Councilor Clark.
I'm sending you a message on Facebook. So just so you know. Okay.
One more.
Councilor
We'll
Ahmed.
follow up.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Regarding transportation and safety,
Hmm.
I'm thinking about safety on transportation, specifically with community violence and also the fentanyl crisis. Like I know there's been a lot of concern with use on our transit and making sure that safety also not only covers like pedestrian safety, but pedestrians safety from violence and from like chemical exposure as well. And it's been like disputed quite a bit, but I guess there's concern and that's the light.
I mean, obviously it's concerned. Listen, I got an 11-year-old. All right. And everything you just shared, I would not let my 11-year-old ride the bus. That's why I take him everywhere, because of that. And that's the reason we need to, we want to see an increase in transit is we have to make it safe for everybody to use. And I mean, I get it. It's unfortunate. I don't know what's going to happen at the state level. We as Metro don't really delve into that world like that outside of supportive housing services and the collection of dollars. But I'm totally with you. I feel like that part of safety isn't talked enough about, but I was hopeful because I was riding the Max. I was by myself. My kid wasn't with me. I was riding the Max Blue Line and there was transit folks with the high vis. There was 2 of them. And I think that, you know, part of that is giving people peace of mind. I see it, you know, when I travel Europe, I travel all across the world. It's a normal thing to see transit, you know, enforcement. Well, not even enforcement, transit, right? To make sure people have peace of mind when they get on. And if there is something there that is obviously out of place or could be a danger or present danger, hey, we got this, we need to clean up, right? Like it just makes sense. And sometimes I think common sense is just not utilized enough sometimes.
So Mayor, one comment. You had some big shoes to fill with Shirley Craddock, and I think you're doing an excellent job.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, Councilor Craddock, she really brought me along from the beginning, even before I was sworn in. A lot of these topics and issues, I had the opportunity and I would like to, you know, thank her for her 12 years of service to this district. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are without her leadership. So, you know, my hat goes off to her. I know she's probably enjoying that retirement. I'm retired technically, but I'm here in front of y'all, so.
I have just a question going back to affordable housing. How is Metro defining what's affordable?
30% of MFI, medium area income, and deeply affordable would be considered below 20, I believe 20 or 15.
And how does that apply to a family of 3 compared to a family of 1, or how's that?
There's a whole graph situation, and I'll make sure you get that.
Well,
Because it breaks down per household, the amount, and I don't know
it's
those amounts right off
it's a
top.
question that is asked all the time.
But it's also a
because it's
question that's always changing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and so you know, so it's more of a reminder, a rhetorical, but certainly one that we don't always confront. We use the term, but we don't really know how we're defining it at certain situations and times. So again, go ahead, but if you wanted anything else on that, because I have another point about housing.
Oh, no.
I want to reinforce the co-op model that Councilor Rio Campbell talked about. The idea that we have people already in affordable housing that's working for them, and we're not focused on that. And I mean laser focused on it. Like mobile home parks that work for people. And it has been, and there's 1 and 2 and 3 generations living there. That needs to be not just well, let's think about it. That needs to be a laser focus. And that needs to happen with Metro, and it also needs to happen at our state. And I don't know what Metro can do to get we have met with our representatives here, okay? And met with them more than once about this topic. But it is right on the top priority for Wood Village. So, Counselor, whatever you can do when you're in one of those conversations, let's not forget about the people that are already living in housing that they can afford right now. But if they, as these mobile home parks starting to get sold, now they're going to be another casualty of the housing issue. So.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, Mayor Minor, as well as you, Jairo, because that's one of the questions I'm asking as we think about how affordable housing 2.0 is like, what does home look like? Right? Like, we know it's not a big single family home, probably out in the suburbs, because the further we push people out, the further we push them from job centers, it's, all the things. So what does that look like, considering our urban growth responsibility and the boundary, but plus also the available lands within? And to your point, those folks are on time.
Exactly right. All right, well, we'll do what we can to keep that out there in front, and on your end, you do that, and we're going to continue to be banging on doors.
Listen, I'm gonna bang with you.
Okay. All right.
If I could just share one last closing quick comment. Just again, I want to thank Councilor Simpson for his intentional reaching out, to electeds, to staff, his team, also Metro's director, Marissa. She's been wonderful to work with, and it really seems like, and it does take time. Metro's big, answers to, 20 some odd different cities around the area, the feds, the state. There seems to be a very nice shift of understanding we're not Portland. Wood Village isn't Portland's not Hillsborough. Hillsborough not Happy Valley. We need to be connected, but that doesn't mean we're the same. And I just really appreciate the new thoughts coming out, development wise, transportation wise, but then all the other things, economic development, tourism, the zoo, that Metro is really looking at. And I'm pleased with the direction things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just, as you shared, one of the first times Metro has come out to East County, meaning Fairview, and had a mixer.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, you did. Well, and I'm not sure it's the very first, but I believe it's been the first time. So share that back with your colleagues that was real important. It sends a message. And Greg, you didn't mention this, but I know that the work you're now doing with Metro directly. And I talked to you at the mixer briefly, but about our park, that the nature park, that is,
we submitted our Nature Neighborhoods grant this afternoon prior to the.
Yeah. So, and that was partly due to the conversations that began to roll out of this.
So
So
like we need to have another mixer.
Yeah.
keep them
Yeah.
coming, because food was pretty good
So
too.
good.
Yeah. All right, Counselor, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
And keep up the good work down there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
All right, we are now going to move to our appointments and interviews. And we have, I know we have one of our candidates here. We had two, is one.
We have two, this expected a little, there's a scheduling conflict. The other person will come in a little later. So we'll do the one, move on agenda when the other person gets here. We'll finish that item and then we'll pivot to it.
Okay, so let's go. Trudy, come on up. And we will have a little conversation, but first off, welcome and thank you for being one of our applicants. All right. And certainly the council has seen your application, and very impressive. And you're coming with lots of experiences. So let's start with our questions, and then that'll allow you to express some of your thoughts, and then there's time at the end for finishing that up. And I thought to make it pretty simple, clean. Councilor Tan, do you want to start with question number one?
Of course.
And there's 5 of us up here, so we all get to ask a question.
Trudy, it's nice to meet you. Um, what in your background, personal or professional, draws you to want to serve the city on the Parks Commission?
Lots of things. First of all, I have a lifelong history in this community. My dad grew up 2 houses away from where I'm living now. I've owned that house for many years. Anyway, so I'm here and I'm glad to be rerouted in Wood Village. I recently retired from full-time work, so I have time. Time is obviously an important thing if you're going to volunteer. I have a lot of interest and experience. So a couple of highlights on the experience side. I've almost always been on a board of directors since the 80s. On one or another, a statewide board or just some project that interested me. Most recently, I was on the board of directors for Portland State University's Alumni Association. And in the past 2 years, chaired their advocates committee. And that committee works to raise money for higher ed in Salem. So it was really exciting to know what was going on in the university, what the needs are, and help to meet those needs. Professionally, 2 things come to mind that are most related to the Parks Commission anyway. And the most recent one was my role as executive director at Portland Farmers Market for 10 years. And my one of my many, of course, roles there was to be the leasee of 5 City of Portland Parks properties. So I had a lot of interactions with the City of Portland Parks. We did everything we could to keep the parks or the markets open during COVID, during the whole pandemic. We never closed once, not one market. And that was due to many things. But one of the things that was very important is my relationship with the park staff. So I don't know to what degree Wood Village leases out park spaces, but I've been on the other side of that relationship. So I have a good idea of what the needs are from a grounds perspective, but also from just a public engagement aspect as well. And those both kind of the key things. Another thing professionally, I was at TriMet for 16 years in the beginning of my career. A lot of things Ashton spoke about triggered in my mind, memories and such. But what happens when you kind of grow up, in my career anyway, growing up in the public sector, is you grow, or I did anyway, a pretty strong commitment to public service from the position of staff, I guess I would say. So I share that as well. I've been on the board side and I've been on the staff side. I've been on I know the value of intergovernmental relationships and how important that is. So that was a really good kind of growing up in a career, is to have those internal workings, but also the public sector, public impact kind of workings. Last piece, I guess, in terms of background, this is my longest answer. Education and just inclination. I have a BS in geography and urban studies, urban planning. And so that already immediately settled me as an undergrad into the workings of a community and the value of being in a community that feeds the human soul. Then master's degrees in business. So those blend really, I thought, well together. It worked for my career anyway, to bring geography, which takes so many different forms in a life, into a business environment. And then I just love nature. I think that's the other reason I really want to. I spend a lot of time in this park. I walk my dogs, sometimes off leash. I'm sorry, I'll try to stop.
Busted.
Because I'll get caught.
We're putting cameras out there.
And I guess the real important thing to me is that nature really feeds our souls. It's what helps us to survive well in a constructed environment. And I want to make sure that we have a great park here.
Okay, I think you've almost answered every question we all had.
Yeah, no, that's soul.
Let's more define it in how would you show your leadership style as a board member instead of an employee?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I'll draw from, as I've done that quite a bit. I've also, as an executive director, I worked for a board for 25 years. I had one or another board of directors I was working for.
Okay.
So there's that.
So as a board member.
Tell them, yeah. So I know how they work too.
Okay, so how would you How would you-
I think what I'm going to answer, how I'm going to answer that though, is how I just was a leader in my organizations, what techniques I learned over the years to lead a good team. Because I see you as a board, any board is also a team. So the first thing that comes to mind was being very aware of my listening skills
Okay.
to make sure that, like, say, when a decision is being made, and I know that's kind of the second question, but I found those two kind of working together, that the voices of everyone are heard. And one of the things I try to do, I'm not always good at it, is that phrase of seek first to understand before trying to be understood. It's a rule of thought, yeah.
Okay.
A rule that doesn't always work, but I'm also kind of a big picture person. I like to set a clear vision. And I noticed as a leader over the years that the more decisive, descriptive I was of where I think our organization ought to be going, the more likelihood we were to get there. And I had some pretty good success with that. So being real clear about what we're trying to accomplish, I think, is
Okay.
another important leadership skill.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
Number 3.
Okay,
Trudy.
sorry.
What do you consider important factors in the group decision-making process?
Some of the things I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, what is our ultimate goal? This is probably my favorite question because I think decision-making is a very critical aspect of running any organization and making decisions with full amount of knowledge, with having evaluated the options. I'm a big believer in a SWOT analysis that scares a lot of people. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but to understand what are the strengths and weaknesses. It could be as simple as what are the pros and cons. So I like to go through that process before just jumping to a solution, but also to think about the long-term impacts of a decision, particularly in the public environment. I go back to being like at TriMet when we would make decisions that were going to affect the public, which is what you all do here. You really want to think long and hard about what are the short and long-term impacts of any kind of decision. Yeah.
You may add something else to the number 4 question if you want, Trudy. What do you believe are the most important issues facing our community, Wood
That's the
Village?
Hardest question to answer, because they're the obvious things which have been discussed well tonight. Houselessness, number 1. So then I tried to like shift the question around a little bit and think about what do I feel like more affects me? I have a beautiful home. I'm not affected by that as an individual person. I see it, and I think the thing that affects me and probably a lot of our neighbors is crime, theft, general lawlessness is what I came to. I was a little surprised that that's what I arrived at, but that's how I feel sometimes. It's sometimes scary to drive up to Gresham. It's sometimes scary to go over to Fred Meyer because I know there was someone shot in the parking lot.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. What else would you like to tell us about how and why you would serve the community?
I think in general on this one, I would like to just share, maybe it's kind of already obvious, that in my 40-some years of professional work, I've always had what I'll call the luxury, it is a true luxury, to work in organizations where I've been able to make a positive influence in the public in general, to improve the public's experience. And this is just, to me, another opportunity to do that in, I'll admit, honestly, in a little bit smaller way, in a little bit more personal way. But I think that's probably the biggest reason why I'm kind of interested in serving. I want to get back to making a difference for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy.
It's been your application really highlights some of your background, but the conversation here tonight and your responses certainly fill us in, and we have a pretty good picture of who Trudy Tolliver is. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to ask if there's no more questions or anything else you want to follow up with our applicant with. I'm going to ask for a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I would like a second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Crickets.
Trudy.
Congratulations, Trudy. Nice to have you with us.
But
Well, no one is. No.
I'll be informed as to when
Yeah.
Yep. So what we'll do first is we'll reach out later this week about some next steps, like an orientation, getting familiar with the Parks Master Plan, current projects up to speed. Right now, Parks Commission meets 2 to 3 times a year at minimum.
Mhm.
And so we're targeting our next Parks Commission meeting, maybe like springtime, on some Ivy cleanup and some other park specific projects. So we'll certainly keep in the loop on that as well as the Parks Commission as whole. So
and the master plan.
yes. It also helps having context and walking through the history of it, current projects. So yeah, we'll go through everything with you. We'll send up an afternoon and
Trudy, just so you know, this is a lifetime appointment.
Yeah,
Even though
So stay healthy.
yeah. You're gonna have to get a tattoo.
All right. Thank you very much. And have a good evening now. Okay.
Leave time at, what time is it that we have our parties?
What parties?
Well, I don't know. Call it out.
Yeah,
What do we
get
have?
together.
Oh, like
Our
the,
gathering, you know.
the summer?
Take care.
Yeah,
The summer
Oh.
one.
yeah.
Is that what you?
Bye,
Yeah,
Gary.
you know, we have our citizen parties, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She's
That's it.
invited.
Oh, yeah, she was, I think she was.
Was she?
Yeah, 'cause she's been on the, she's been on a couple of the committees, I think. Maybe. Okay, let's, why don't we take a brief recess?
Everybody took.
Somebody beat you to it.
I mean, they're gone. Why don't I just, join the crowd?
She read your mind.
You get a 3-minute recess, all right? So.
Okay. Craig,
You can go ahead.
What,
I have nothing to do.
you gonna start the clock on me here?
okay.
Well,
Hey Siri. give her-
Jeff, nice to see you.
Yeah, sorry, I was late.
Oh,
some-
There we go.
Start
now.
Right there it is.
Oh, morning, and it was real. Normally I can do it in 45 minutes.
Music too.
I mean,
You're serious, that's it.
There you go. Yeah. There we go.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look, it recognized you were playing music.
Yeah.
Might shut it off.
Oh, it's good. Good. Now you have to pay the Beatles $2 billion.
No, I just told it, I just told it to play music. I didn't say what.
I heard that's.
Yeah, I better turn it off. He's right.
Greg's gonna get a notice and be like, you guys violated YouTube
Your
policies.
Beatles owns Wood Village.
It'll probably come to the city's account, so I won't see it. Somehow got deleted.
Set up professional audio in audio settings. Oh, man, I can't do it. This is big screen.
Yes, it is. It's a view only screen. It's not-
We don't give
I
any.
knew that.
Not
controls.
interactive.
It's funny. So our personal laptop is the touchscreen one, but Kirsten's work computer isn't. And so she'd be writing something on like an email, want me, and I'd be touching the screen.
But it works.
I need a touch screen.
So I was watching, this person had put this mouse on a screen, right? And these cats were all watching it and they finally hit it and the mouse would blow up.
That's pretty good.
Like I said, after 12 days of, start looking at cat video.
You're gonna put
Yeah.
number 3 down.
Oh, you there you go. There's your notes for their meeting.
And you're right about the Beatles.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and,
The timer hasn't gone off yet.
yeah, it's,
Got 45 more seconds if you
we
want.
better wait for Jeff thing. You
Okay.
may get us in legal trouble.
He's gonna get us in a bunch of legal trouble over there.
30, 29.
I'll bail you out.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. Go ahead.
20 seconds.
We have
Okay.
the resolution on the Multnomah County crosswalk. So, John?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Good evening. So just really just rolling right from Metro Councilor Simpson, kind of what he brought up about regional transportation and safety and pedestrian safety. This this resolution supports that. So as you know, the city was awarded a grant of $250,000 for a crosswalk. The location is Wood Village Boulevard and Northeast Riverwood. They're kind of matching and connecting our town center, residential neighborhood. And if you are familiar with that intersection, there's a lot of foot traffic and pedestrian traffic, bicycle traffic, folks trying to get from the residential to the town center. So again, this project will support that. And in order, this is actually required that we have a agreement in place for the maintenance and retention of the crosswalk once it is constructed. And so that's why we have to have this IGA with Multnomah County moving forward. Again, here's the location. Options moving forward, approve the resolution as presented, and we can start working on getting the design for the crosswalks and get those built or get it built. It's only one. Or take no action and we opt out and we lose a $250,000 grant that our mayor is on the board and was advocating for us and the city and our community for our public safety.
No pressure.
Any questions? Clarification?
I mean, it's kind of a question slash comment kind of related to the Wood Village Boulevard. So, I mean, it won't affect the vote here, but when is the county going to take action on the intersection at the town center from, Lowe's?
The
Fred
Park
Meyer?
Lane one?
Yeah, that Park Lane one, and then look at, readjusting the entrance.
Off of
the south
Gleason.
entrance off of Gleason, because again, the icy storm, I drove by there and there was a huge accident. And so there's a multitude of reasons. And so I remember a few years back, the county came and did a presentation, and what I got out of it is that, they're not gonna do anything until something happens. And so that's something I believe that we don't want. We don't want something to happen before we take action. So, I know that's different, but pretty tied into this.
So we regularly meet, when I say we, City Manager Dirks and myself meet with county transportation, engineers, roads, planning. So City Manager Dirks has been an advocate to keep that on the radar. It is in the queue. To say they're doing something right now, I know an engineer was out there prior to the snow and ice event.
Mhm.
I was talking with their transportation engineer in one of the monthly meetings, and they are visiting the site. They are assessing what to do specifically at Gleason and Wood Village Boulevard as traffic moves north. So.
And I think if I could quickly add to some of that too, the county is, there's a new program called Safe Streets for All. Looking at transportation holistically, the county's applying for a grant to really evaluate certain system components. And I think that's where, Wood Village Boulevard at Park Lane is a perfect example of trying to mitigate things before there are serious issues. So it may not register as a high accident corridor that gets that kind of attention. And that's where our local knowledge says this and Wood Village Boulevard at Arata are problem areas that need some kind of special treatment and attention. Lastly, John, we did submit for a speed reduction request through ODOT for both Wood Village Boulevard and Arata Road, bringing those speeds down. And then that becomes, an enforcement question. And that's something for later conversations with the council community about new tools the legislature has given us, including speed cameras that are now that can be used. Not that I say that's the tool we're going to. It's something we can now evaluate. Is that the right tool to deal with safety concerns along those corridors?
And the speed reduction, I know we're getting away from this resolution.
And I apologize for that.
The speed reduction study takes 12 months. So, and I think it was submitted August, September-ish timeframe. So ODOT still has some time.
Thank you.
Any other questions here before we take action? Is there a motion to approve this?
I move, okay. I move to approve resolution 4-2024, authorizing the city manager to execute the IGA with Multnomah County Transportation for the Northeast Wood Village Boulevard RRFB pedestrian enhancement project.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. John, I just want to make a comment now that resolution's passed. You all have worked hard on that. And I think this is the beginning of some other improvements to Wood Village Boulevard that could help us move forward with some of the Councilor Rios Campbell's comments. So thanks for the work on that.
And for
Thank you.
next steps in terms of this, I believe County Transportation is trying to get this in their board in February, if I understood their timeline.
Yes.
And then once that's approved, we are actually doing the design this time, so quicker than last time. So once that's signed and done, we're going to move pretty quick on getting RFPs and getting things underway.
Good, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Down to our discussion, holiday meals. That was pulled off the consent at our last meeting, so I'm glad we have a chance here this evening to have a thorough conversation about it, Greg, and the amended staff report too also gave us a little bit more information.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Yeah, we took that opportunity to update some of the staff report on some more statistics, backgrounds and things. So I feel like tonight's kind of a story of wins and fails. You know, we've had some great wins and certainly some fails. And I'm not going to call the program at large a fail. Certainly the 2023 events, not optimal. So what I want to do is do a quick background on how we got into the meal program, and then talk about what happened this past year and then options moving forward. And I want to make it clear that you don't need to decide what we're doing moving forward tonight, simply trying to gauge, you know, where we want to go, what are some of the options and your interest in what I think staff's calling kind of food insecurity and what is our role in that broader area. So we got in the food business in 2020 as part of the COVID response. You know, we certainly knew there was a lot of need, especially as the holidays were rolling around and just so many people still out of work and the impact. So we called Turkey Drive and we supplied, you know, a turkey, meal fixings to folks who signed up for that. It was such a success. We doubled down the following year, not just did Turkey Drive, but also added one for the winter holidays. And for the winter holiday one, based on lessons learned in the previous ones, we actually even added a separate side box. So we had one main that people could pick, you know, what kind of sides they wanted to try to make it meaningful, relevant stuff they would, you know, use, want, and the like. In 2022, because these events were actually taking up quite a bit of staff time, and the East County Food Pantry, which started in 2020 in response to COVID, was actually building up quite a bit by 2022 and, you know, was our area's food pantry. So it made a lot of sense. And they were doing a turkey event as well to partner with them in that. So last year in 2022, we partnered with the East County Food Pantry for the turkey event, but we still ran our winter holiday one in-house. And for that one, we provided a main, which was a ham, and then we did a gift card that did two things. One, it reduced staff time trying to procure 150 some odd items. And then we knew people could buy stuff that was meaningful to them. They could cook at home, they knew how to cook, or just would be special for their holiday. So while the 2022 turkey event with the East County Food Pantry had hiccups and speed bumps, you know, it was worth, you know, seeing if we could work out those kinks and actually just hand over our program to run essentially. And again, it would do twofold. One, it would get up off, you know, staff plates, serve the need of our communities and food insecurity, and help legitimize them as, you know, our local food pantry and food source. We had met with them in the summer months after council said, let's go with that direction. We really talked through and had great conversations about what both sides needed out of this and what the concerns were, expectations, and it seemed like we really were on the same page. Certainly we knew things would shift and would be fluid, but there was a lot of confidence that we could pull off something great and actually help build community. So the city provided $10,000 to support both events, the turkey one and the winter holiday one. And, there were failed elements at both. I am confident the East County Food Pantry does a great job in its weekly events. And I'm not saying they don't do that well. I'm not saying they don't feed people well or provide meaningful things. It seems like these one-off holiday events is a stretch too far, at least for them right now and probably for the next periods ahead. Not only did it fail in some critical areas, including, notifications, confirmations, revised food items that necessarily weren't relevant, meaningful, applicable. We also heard, comments from you all in debriefing these in the past, like not everyone has a full stove and people may need, some simple things to prepare. Didn't happen. And because of that, there was a lot of staff time, whether it was Caroline, Becky, myself, others, either fielding phone calls because people hadn't heard if they're registered or not, trying to pivot, help with the food pantry. We even try to help build bridges between certain community groups. So again, trying to build the East County Food Pantry up. That not only were those not built, there was some damage control staff had to do to know that we understood where things failed for those community groups and community members that, again, had looked forward to this and thought this could build something and it didn't. And I'm not here to say the hows or the whys or the blame anybody. It's just not the right vehicle if we're going to do a holiday meal program where East County Food Pantry is today. It's not the right vehicle. Again, I'm not saying they don't run a very meaningful, well done weekly one. These one-off holiday ones seem to be a stretch too far. This was in your packet and it was interesting to note and highlight. It's kind of just Wood Village participants. So clearly, we open this up, in a broad sense. When the city hosts it, in-house, it was always, Wood Village first gets priority, and then everyone else, if there's room, gets on that list. And you can really see this past year, the 2023 year, the need didn't go away, but the Wood Village participation wasn't there. And that was for, how people could get registered, registration closing. It was almost like trying to get tickets to a Taylor Swift concert. I mean, registration closed quick, same day. That's never happened. And it's great that people from Gresham, Portland area, it's great that we helped feed people. We also need to feed Wood Village first and make sure that our community members are well served by their dollars. And you can just see how this past year didn't do that. So options moving forward. Again, East County Food Pantry, it's a legitimate food pantry doing weekly food distribution. So if that's something to support, always an option just to make sure its weekly distributions go out. They do have regular Wood Village customers. And then speaking of that need, in 2022, about roughly 20% of our community is SNAP, not just eligible, they receive SNAP benefits. So the number actually could be higher for those that are eligible. That's about 270 households. So it's not insignificant. So we know the need is there. The question is, how do we all want to address that need and what is our role in addressing that need? We know there are some larger regional food pantry programs. Could there be something worked out with them to offer some Wood Village things? We also know there are some smaller, but now still local food pantries, either, once a month or working through the schools. Is that an option? We used to, before Play East, we used to be fairly involved in summer lunch programs and making sure people were fed through the summer months when schools are closed, and not just, school kids, but, families. They could come to a site, the whole family could have at least a lunch meal. So is that an option to kind of expand and look at? Is it something else? Is it our role at all? Is our role more advocacy for, county dollars or state dollars to support food insecurity? One of the benefits we do have as a community, we're not in a food desert. So, we've got grocery stores nearby, access to grocery stores. So it certainly seems, income-based, not necessarily the closest grocery store is miles and miles away, not near a transit line. So there are some good things. And so how do we leverage the good things to help food insecurity? So this current year, we budgeted $12,000 for our 2 food events. So we're still actually holding on to some dollars if ideas come up through the rest of the fiscal year. And so what we're looking for, at least right now or before the budget time, is this something we still want to support budgetarily? And then we can work on the vehicle throughout, the year and into next fiscal year, and what do we want to do? So again, don't need to make any decisions tonight. Just wanted to debrief the last 2 events, talk about, what you all want to do regarding food insecurity. Maybe it still is holiday events. Maybe it's something different. This is just, the conversation to kick off. What are your thoughts, and what's the direction for staff moving forward?
Thanks, Greg. I'll open it up to questions, comments.
I definitely support budgeting for food insecurity, specifically summer lunch programs and all. What it's worth.
I think we manage it ourselves better,
Word.
but pulling it back in-house. Like that, just handing money over to another entity seems to have been a bit of a mistake.
Yeah,
That's a compliment.
But like I said, we set a very high service standard. I know we talked earlier about our snow removal standard, but
Yes, I get that.
in general, we have a
We
very
don't
high
have those
service
events very
standard.
often.
I know. And I think that's just unique for some, organizations, private, nonprofit, public, et cetera. We have a high service standard. And whether we hand over money for someone to run a program on behalf, we keep the same standard.
So I believe we have a great opportunity here. And, looking back at those previous years, I think what I remember a great success of those earlier years was our community partner that really was a bridge to the community. So I think that piece is as important moving forward. So if the consensus is doing that, I would lean on ensuring that how can we bring that community group to continue to be on board and maybe be a more focal point of hands-on. And so alleviating some of that stress from staff. And so seeing if they are able to pick up some of those more, admin pieces to it, obviously the logistical piece of actually picking up the meals, that's a whole different piece. But the outreach to the community, I think that group did a great and important job. And I firsthand saw them for the turkey meal drive at a tree lighting event that night. They themselves registered, I believe, about 35 to 40 Wood Village residents. So, so we have a group that has connections to our immediate community that we are trying to serve. So I think we find a way to bring that group back on board.
The other part is when we said specifically where they're supposed to get things and then they change it up afterwards. And then when we're financing it, that's where the wrong comes in.
No, totally agree on that. But again, a piece of it is also outreach into our community and informing them, hey, there's this available, right? So if we don't have that
Right,
vehicle.
absolutely, I get your point.
Yeah, so keeping it in-house where maybe we can do some of that logistical piece this day, this time, but still have boots on the ground, for lack of better words, to actually go and inform that.
And I think regardless whether we do something in-house, whether we partner with other entities, the connections to our community partners has to be key, and everyone has to be on board with that role in promoting this event. Whatever we decide to do, that is a critical piece to it.
A couple comments. When we went this direction and 2 years ago. One of the objectives was to reduce staff time in the human resource that we have to deliver these services. And so the concept was, let's try to build the capacity of the food bank because they were there and they were emerging. And let's build the capacity for that organization. First thing is we do need to cease with that program there, okay? And they serve a great purpose, and they're doing for everything we understand, they're doing a great job. But this one was maybe not right in their wheelhouse. So moving on from that, I continue to think we do need to think about our staff time as we do our community events. And I think overreaching is our role in this city to build the capacity of other organizations, build the capacity of individuals, build the capacity of groups to help them find a way to serve the community. So I'm certainly supportive of us continuing to budget money to help the people in our community first, and then as the need arises, hungry people are hungry people, and they're going to look for places to get food. And I certainly have no issue with somebody hungry seeing something about Wood Village coming up from 32nd Street in Portland. But we need to design it and keep it with our individuals in our community first. In the staff report, Greg, you didn't say much about it, but it's about the outreach. There was a comment there about thinking about how we would engage our community again or in another fashion to see what they want, what works for them. And I don't know if you have anything further to say about that, what that might look like.
At this, I mean, as a moment, I don't know. It's more of just like, is that an area the council wants us to explore of, I don't know what the community needs and values. And would you like us to actually, in various means and methods, go ask, is a holiday one actually? No, that's great. We can find places on the week to week or month to month for food pantries. These holiday ones are a nice extra boost. Yeah. Or is it really, you know what, we do some of these smaller pantries. It'd be great if that could be expanded. I don't know.
Well, I think it's always good to reach out to the people you're trying to help and see if it's helping them. So if we can do some of that, as you collect as you learn more about that, I think that would be important in making, kind of giving staff direction.
Was it giving us all direction? And I think that's something kind of hearing, it sounds like, yes, we still want to be involved in the food insecurity playground. We may not be the main players in the playground, but we want to be supportive of it. And staff, let's go find out what our role is and what the need is. And so that gives me enough direction. We can budget some funds, and in the meantime, start doing that outreach of what the need is and what is our role in that need.
And we have time. I mean, this one isn't going to be breathing down our neck, but we have time to maybe engage in that in other events.
Talk to other food pantry providers, community groups, kind of just re-engaging on the topic.
Yeah,
absolutely. And if that's the direction, that's a great direction at this time.
Council, are you comfortable with that?
I think, yeah, getting some type of feedback from the community, I think that's the important piece, right? Because
and we can certainly start with past participants of our program.
There we go.
Yeah, it's even from, you think about it, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we were doing passing out food, things have changed.
3 years ago?
Is it?
Well, I mean, 3.5, because we did it in 2020.
2020.
So it's changed and people's lives have changed since then, and they may want something totally different than what traditionally food baskets look like. So, yeah, you got the picture. So,
Fantastic.
thank you for that, follow up on that and for council engaging in this again.
And I think our next Parks interview is here.
We should, yeah. Good evening. Thanks for being here with us tonight. And I'm going through my paperwork. Yeah.
The hot seat.
I did, because I'm a teacher, I wrote out the answers.
Ms. Berman, thank you very much for being here. Nice to have you. And well,
Oh, that's cute.
hey, I got a bunch of them right here too. Thank you very much.
Tell me your first name.
Christie.
Christine, thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, Christine, you have been briefed. You do have those 5 questions you're gonna have a chance to elaborate on as we
That's fine.
go through. We do have your application too, and thanks
Okay.
for your interest in being involved in Wood Village. And without any further ado, Councillor Tan, you want to kick us off?
Yes, of course. Thank you for Christine for coming out.
Oh, thank you.
What in your background, personal or professional, draws you to want to serve the city on the Parks Commission?
Okay, so I'm not going to bore you by reading what I wrote there. You know, a little bit. I don't know, maybe it flushes it out or maybe it doesn't. Anyway, so I'm an outdoors person. I love the outdoors, and I actually bought a house on the back end of the park last August. So I live my driveway is right at the foot of the park.
Oh.
I mean, the park maneuver, basically. So I spend a lot of time there, and it's not my, first rodeo. So when I'm in an outdoor setting, and I am frequently, I tend to notice the environment around me, and I start to care about it, just because I feel like it's an extension of where I live, right? So just back up a little bit. So I like to ride my bike, walk, hike, ski, kayak. I just came from yoga, and I love pickleball too. Have to admit that.
Wow.
So I do a variety of activities, and I have a dog who loves the park. So anyway, I guess overall, I just like to give back as much as I can. I don't like to just take. And yes, of course I pay taxes, but so does everybody else. So I like to, offer help, however I can do it. And I've been on a parks group before. So years ago, I lived in the city of Estacada for 17 years, and I was on their very baby beginning of a parks committee. We really didn't even the city council kind of didn't know what they were asking us to do, and we kind of didn't know what we were supposed to do, but we finally figured out a path forward, and we made a little progress. They only had one park at the time, the Timber Park, if you're familiar with Estacada, and now they have a couple so that was my first time that I was involved in it. And then more recently, I lived in Gresham for periods of time. I owned a condo, then I went to Taiwan to teach, and I came back, sold my condo, and whatever. I was most recently living in Gresham for 6.5 years. And at that time, of course, I got interested in the parks again. And they were putting together that big task force. They put together in 2021. It was 36 people. It was like they really went to great lengths to make sure it was a broad cross-section of the community, like where you lived, your background, your ethnicity, I mean, just everything. So we were supposed to come up with a comprehensive parks plan for Gresham, and we had a year to do it. And I was very involved with that group. Then I had to move. So my landlord sold the house where I was renting. So I had to move. And the only place I could afford to find, even on teacher's pay, was in Troutdale. So sadly, I had to leave Gresham. And then I resigned from the from the group. But that was another experience.
Okay.
That I've
So can I ask you a trivial question since you've written this down?
Yeah.
You said here a lifetime habit of working with Earth Day. Do you know what day Earth Day was chosen for?
I know it's in April. It's like the 3rd,
The 22nd,
the
but
27th.
that's a birthday of somebody.
Ooh, would that be John Muir?
No,
Ah,
that was Eddie Albert.
oh,
And that was because his son dedicated it to him because he put up all of the money to stop DDT.
oh, for goodness sake.
That's something. Yeah, his son
Wow.
was the one who worked the island of Catalina to stop DDT on the island so that the birds' eggs would be able to form.
Right,
But
right.
anyway, that'll draw me into the second question, okay?
Sure, yeah.
Your definition of leadership and how would you show leadership style on this board?
Yeah, so it's pretty compact. I think that leadership is service. So I don't think leadership is bossing.
Okay,
I think it comes from effort. Yeah, so at least that's the way I view it. I have been in charge of things before, but I always like to do it collaboratively,
okay,
and not
Perfect.
top down. So, yeah.
yeah. Okay,
All right. Question 2.5, are those Sasquatch earrings? Nice touch. Style points.
Yes.
Okay, what?
Exceeded. Yeah.
And there's that large statue of Sasquatch at the nursery right across from the school. And I keep
we
thinking,
visit
why
the
do?
park occasionally. We're good.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good eyes because I can't see Sasquatch.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, number 3.
yeah.
Okay,
What do you consider important factors in the group decision-making process?
Yeah, so, you know, in the school setting, we went through a big change in the way we, meet together and discuss things that sometimes can be kind of, sensitive. And so I think that, well, I'm going to flip around what I wrote there. I think what I've learned from that experience, and it's been a lot more effective having meetings. So not so onerous, and like, I never get to say anything. Nobody ever listens to me kind of thing. Like we really, really, right at the beginning of the meeting, and maybe you do this with this body, you talk about kind of your expectations of each other and being really respectful listeners. And I think in America especially, there are so many people who become famous because they're just blowhards. They talk all the time, but they never listen. So, and I think we have to kind of flip that and become better listeners and maybe be quiet once in a while. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. So that's one. And the other one is making sure that all voices are heard. And I think that comes a lot from that. I think I was on the task force for maybe half a year, maybe a little bit longer. But I kept bringing in the fact that we've got to make sure that everybody's heard. Because when you have 36 people, not everybody's going to talk during the meeting, right? And you can't just plow ahead and make a decision without making sure that everybody had a part in it. So I think making sure that we understand kind of the individual personalities of people in the group and how they best communicate and make decisions. Me, I'm a reflective thinker. So if you ask me a question just out of the blue right now, I probably would say, I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
So yeah, you're welcome.
Christine, you've made it pretty clear here in your answer about the important issues facing the community. You've kind of narrowed it down to the
I
part.
do.
So anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, but I did mention that I noticed the environment and I've been involved with the group Solve for a number of years. And of course, our main focus now is on dealing with invasive species. And I immediately noticed that we have a big problem in the park. So I got in touch with Solve and said, hey, could we organize a cleanup in the park? And then got in touch with the city, and we're going to start slowly trying to remove the ivy back there in the park because it will kill all those trees.
Good.
It just will.
Well, good.
And I think it's part of the climate change. And, I think we need to somehow help that area to, develop as many native species in there because they're the ones that will
Good.
best protect it from climate change.
Appreciate your observation as well as your
Yeah.
interest. So,
Yeah. you're welcome.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna actually throw a curveball.
Oh, no.
Because you gave us this, which is great, but for me, what would be, I don't want to say your priority, but a top choice in either changing or your focus in the park today?
Okay, now can you restate that maybe?
Like, what would be your number one focus as a Parks Commission person in the park today?
Well, I imagine we're an advisory group to you all, right? So I don't know if you have a parks plan. There one?
I don't know the answer
Yeah,
to that.
they're a park.
Master plan.
Yeah.
Okay. And how recent is it?
The actual update was 2018 and then some mapping updates, 2020, 2021.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
this is a long way to answer your question, maybe, maybe not directly, but I was thinking back to when I was on that task force. And the problem was that Gresham last had a big recommendation, a long-term study, a recommendation of the city council that ultimately city council turned down, but that was in 2015. And they felt like that had been too long considering the amount of growth that Gresham's gone through and the whole demographics of the area is completely unlike 2015. So I don't know what your plan has in mind. Does anybody, is that what the committee's working on, is trying?
There's various things. So like we said, we do have a relatively, current master plan. And then over the last several years, we've done a number of outreach and surveying to understand, of the many projects in it, what are the top priorities? And so we say we have that, but like, as you said, like communities change, parties change, things are fluid. We have current projects we're on right now. And, while the Parks Committee is advisory, I think what Council President Rios Campbell was like, whether you're on the committee or not, a park user, a park neighbor, what is your, like, you get a magic wand to do one thing.
Ooh.
What is your one thing, I think is the
Yeah.
question.
I see. Well, Matt, having lived in Gresham and gone to a number of events at that arts park, those splash pads are huge.
Ours
And
is very popular.
Yeah, very popular.
so, anything like that, kind of brings people in and brings people together. I don't know, there's the, right now it's failing me, but in the park, there's kind of a concert bowl, but not really.
Mm.
But it'd be kind of nice to have a gathering space like that.
You don't have to design it, but the idea. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Any further questions? Christine, thank you very much for not only, I thought you were handing out your resume and you, then I started looking at it. Well, the answers are, your answers followed along pretty well here. So anyway, thank you very much for, again, your interest. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve. I move to,
Yes.
yeah,
Where's it at?
that works.
Where's it
Okay,
at?
I move to approve you.
Yeah. Yeah. To our parks.
Christine here.
Christine Bierman to the Parks Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You.
Welcome. And seriously, you come with a wealth of knowledge, certainly interest and background. So
Right,
thanks for your interest. And
yeah.
I know Greg will be following up. with you.
Yep. So I was gonna say, next steps, we'll follow up with you. We'll set up an orientation. So we'll have you here. We'll go through the master plan, the work to
Oh, yeah,
develop
that
it,
would be
I know.
really-
current projects. Parks Commission currently meets 2, 3 times a year, generally, unless there's like projects and other things to update them on. So the next meeting won't be till later springtime, but as you're well aware, we've got some events cooking
Yeah.
for around the April time. So
Oh, good.
we will be in touch.
Thank you. Thanks for your support of our parks.
Question, do we need to turn our notes in for?
Because we put them with the packet.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Christine.
Christine, have a good.
You.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah.
John, Public Works. Report.
I'm just loading his presentation.
When I get more water, would you like any?
About time. Sure, thank you.
Or cute.
Oh, well, whatever you bring will be perfect.
We still have a quorum. You want me to keep going?
We're gonna do
Yeah.
business here.
Hang tight. till
No, go
council-
ahead. We
Okay,
can start.
so yeah, for time, so really is a recap of 2023, Public Works. You know, I know Greg touched on the event that just happened and we'll make things better. We'll make it right and we'll be better prepared for the next event. But 2023, I really just want to kind of touch on a couple things is the code compliance cases. We didn't hit 400 like we did the year before, but I think what's important is the implementation of the thank you postcard. Again, it's acknowledging community members that may have let things go a little bit or for whatever reasons, but made the corrections and it was our acknowledgement of that. I think that's was important for as we are per council direction becoming more instead of reactive to situations.
John, thanks for doing that because I know that came out of some discussions that you guys were having and we talked about it here at council. So thanks for following up with a number. That's pretty impressive.
Yes. So, and again, I think another project that really was a highlight was the Halsey Street pedestrian, the 3 crosswalks. So, not our community, folks visiting our community, it just makes it safer. You know, and you have commercial pastry shop across the street now, coffee shop.
So good.
You know, folks. That was really it. And just really just acknowledge our public works staff. I know right now we are a little shorthanded. Staff is working on both the grounds and facilities maintenance person and utility 1 and or 2, depending on qualifications. So with that, that concludes kind of 2023. Look forward to 2024. We had a rough start, but we can only.
John, real quick, on your report, on the permits going out, Fred Meyer remodeling. What that was on the list there? Fred Meyer's doing some remodeling in the.
They did some front entrance stuff.
Oh, it's already done.
Some electrical things and nothing like they
Okay.
did several
Nothing
years
major.
ago.
Oh, I thought there was something.
They did some
I think they put the new little.
the entrance.
Oh, I know what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, those swing gates there.
You also see probably some from Walmart. They're
Yeah, okay.
doing a remodel, but again, nothing. It's more just updates.
It's updates. Okay. All right. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Next item is the finance report. Here comes the finance manager.
Honestly.
Yes. Do you like that? Oh, sure.
Unless there's not enough.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Hi, Steph.
The budget calendar.
Mayor, council. Included in your budget pack is the finance director's report for a comment from last director's report about property taxes, and you can see that now that everything's kind of come through the county and they've started dispersing money, we're on track for our revenues compared to this point last year. That's all I have to say about the finance director's report. I did hand out a copy of the budget calendar. Our budget season audit is just wrapping up and budget is just kicking off. So this is the first step in our budget process. And the two items I wanted, this is a copy of this is included in your packet, but the two items I wanted to highlight were the dates for the first budget meeting. And the proposed date is April 25th. That's a Thursday. And that would be the budget committee meeting combined with the urban renewal and the budget committee members. And typically we approve at that meeting. We have since, I think, for the last 10 years. We always put a second meeting on the calendar just in case there's issues that come up that we need more time to resolve and we can appropriately notice those. And then the other date I wanted to call out was the budget adoption, and that's scheduled for your council meeting on May 28th. So I just wanted to get that in front of everyone. If anyone has a date with a problem with either one of those dates, then Manager Dirks know, and we will work the schedule. But those are the two important dates where we have to have you here to vote. We need a quorum. So
Thanks, Seth. That's good to get it out early. Yep. Any questions?
I have one question and do we have a full budget committee or are there?
No,
Yes, no.
no, we do not. And that was kind of, brought up back in December when we had the application process and what boards had applicants, which ones didn't. Budget does not, it's actually quite lacking in members. And so staff has some ideas, certainly we've got some budget committee folks, because with budget, there are certain state requirements that people have to meet, like you have to live in the community and things like that. So the thought is maybe look at some parks members that are familiar with the process. It's something we need to talk with you all about of what you're all comfortable with trying to get some seats filled, if not, longer term on like a permanent basis on the board, well, permanent, a full term or just short term, like we need some people for this budget and then we can do more targeted recruitment for, the full term budget committee members. So we have some options and staff has some ideas to at least make sure we've got a board.
Could you send at least me, but maybe the whole council, what are those requirements, especially for the budget committee? Because again, since it's dealing with those financial pieces, that community members have to, they're required. And then that way, as we continue to move forward and then as a council make a decision, but maybe in kind of at the same time, we could start looking at community members that, could potentially have interest in this and maybe missed it or again needs more of that. Well, what does it mean? Or what are the requirements?
We need a personal touch.
Yeah. And so, we can kind of work on that angle. And so I think that would be very helpful.
yes, I was crushed when I found out the number of applicants for parks and the number of applicants for budget.
Oh, yeah.
After we put out our public.
Yeah,
notice.
I'd be
That's
thinking about it,
It is.
looking over your shoulder. As you, as follow up on Hyro's comment there, I think the personal touch and then Greg, you or Seth could have a conversation with them too. Because that's probably what I would do is say, you know what, why don't you talk to and see what really is entailed, but having a little background on it. But let's go out and do some recruiting.
And I think that's, when you look at our boards, whether it's urban renewal, planning, budget, and then parks, I mean, parks is probably, the least fear factor because you experience the park, the park. None of the other boards are much different than that, but they had got this connotation, this fear, and all you really need is just a passion for the community. If we do our job, a passion for the community does the rest.
Yeah.
And I would be also inclined if what other boards are we, needing some seats filled and in sharing those kind of descriptions, requirements and stuff like that. I think again would go a long way, at least for me, as I look into potential community members and things of that.
I think over the next week or so, we'll put together kind of
just brief, And then
a
again,
briefer on kind of what the openings are and then the brief, an elevator pitch to it.
Perfect. Updated roster based on the approvals tonight as well as who re-upped and didn't.
We're good on parks.
Yeah.
We're all full of.
Okay, so I'm putting together a lottery for see who brings in
Ooh.
the most.
We get a paper party?
And yeah, And it's not just showing up. They actually got to get involved. You can't just send out anybody. They got to get
Okay.
involved. So here we go. All right, thanks, Seth.
Thank you.
And seriously about doing a little recruiting if we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
City manager report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I know we're just past the 8 o'clock hour, so I'll be brief and just know that certainly you got questions, comments, let me know. Meant to talk about, while we had some fails with the storm response, we may have a little win and some olive branching to do in that our partner at Metro. They are opening up a community disaster cleanup grant program. And so we're looking into applying that, not just for like the city's park, you know, is a disaster, and we're cleaning that up, and that's going to be leaky debris and limbs and things. We also know that homes and area else, there's a lot of branches, not so much the big trees and things, but a lot of branches, a lot of cleanup. And so the thought is, and we'll make it public if it comes to fruition, but basically reopening leaf drop. But, it's a storm response where people can bring their limbs and other things that fell to the park, and we'll take care of the cleanup. And it's actually a grant program through Metro. So we're working on that right now. I don't want to make too big of an announcement and get hopes up and if something falls through, but that's what we're working towards and working on.
That was going to be one of my questions this evening.
So hopefully we'll know maybe. Go ahead.
I could also add to, Multnomah County is looking into FEMA reimbursement, but they have to meet a certain threshold. So they've reached out to all the area cities to put together their, kind of what their cost is for the damages. So we're also doing that. And so we'll have a good number on everything from tree, debris removal to we have a cracked pump at one of our lift stations and some other damage that we're going to be recording. I don't know if you noticed that flags out front are down. There was damage to the flagpole. So
Wow.
The winds were ripping and pretty good. So, but again, the county's looking into FEMA reimbursement. So along with that is a lot of documentation and presentations to FEMA folks and county emergency management.
So we're working on that, and hopefully in the next week or so, we'll have some updates. We can do a reach out if we can pull that together. We're talking about fire. That's a big part of the upcoming retreat. We're also continuing conversations both at a multi-city elected level, staff level. We had a meeting yesterday with the 3 cities. Great concrete steps moving forward. So just know that that's progressing, and it's going to be a great item at the retreat, I think, to really bring things into focus and deliver those next steps. Speaking of the retreat, that is coming up February 10th. So staff is preparing for that. Hopefully, to say you are as well. You don't have any. You've done your job so far with your interviews and everything, and talking with Martha, those went really well and gave some good insights. And that we'll use that and develop the packet. You'll get that about a week before the meeting, and it's going to be a great day.
I was just going to say, where did we land on for food?
Could see if Tanny's is willing to put together, like for the lunch portion, kind of a lunch spread, and then we can, have our snackables and whatnot, which I am told I'm in charge of snackables.
Yes.
Well, I was voted on.
From Tanny's.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with Tanny's. Is that- Everybody feel good about that? Yeah, so.
Love tennis.
We'll
I'll
just
tell you, their breakfast croissant.
Sneak out and go-to place now.
Yeah.
Maybe we do
breakfast
and lunch. No.
Yeah,
The council has spoken.
yeah. We've given you direction. Yeah, okay.
For our sewer trunk line, if you're reading the reports and things, that's still in progress. We're actually finalizing and trying to wrap up the scope for flow monitoring. And we'll have an update at your next council meeting where that's at. We're working on the procurement of it because we've got a bid. It's not a lot of places do this. We're like, is it sole source? Is it just award? It's under 50. And so we're just working through some of those step components, but we will have an update for your next meeting. Hopefully it's already under contract and scheduled. It will be for a 6-month flow session. We've touched, a bit on the public comments about homelessness, and I just wanted to reiterate and reinforce, we are elevating with the county, and that is something Metro is a partner in. It'll be interesting, the audit report this Thursday that Metro's getting, because in talking at a staff level, they're not happy with Multnomah County. Have there been improvements? Yes. Have there been some success stories? Yes. It's a big problem that we're not getting services delivered. So it'll be interesting to hear that report, and then continuing to demand services for, the 3/4 city area. So just as you're having conversations in the community or hearing things, know that we are elevating that quite dramatically with the county.
And the two key places, I think we all know that, is Sandy Boulevard and the RVs parked in front of Camping World, and the RV and the cars that have been parked out in front here. So those are the two key areas. And
I mean, could it be worse? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just from an overall safety standpoint, we were actually worried about the folks living on the streets in their vehicles and RVs during the weather, because no one's checking on them. They're not at a place. You want to live in your car, your RV, that's fine. It needs to be in a place where it's a community, it's safe, and, on the shoulders, not that.
And I'll just quickly say, let's take advantage of our Metro counselor saying that he's willing to engage. So let's utilize that as his vehicle and have him help us put pressure on the county.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just lastly, I missed the last council meeting. Wife was in the hospital unexpectedly, and I know I appreciate the thoughts, the well wishes. She was in hospital for a week. Hopefully we're in a path to keep her out of the hospital. She's doing daily treatments and things. They're making her stable. I wouldn't say she's getting, cancer is a sticky wicket, but she's stable. And I really appreciate the grace, the latitude, and thoughts and well wishes. And just so you all know, for the next little bit, I'll be taking every Wednesday off. Those are her full chemo days. And so I just wanted to be with her while she's going through that. And I just appreciate, again, your grace in letting me do that. And the whole team's support, when I called them up, 6 p.m. on a random Wednesday saying not going to be in, going to the hospital, it was, we've got you covered. Focus on that. Don't worry about here. And so I just wanted to, again, thank the full team that we've got. So clearly we've got some improvements in some areas. We really do have a solid team overall.
Second that. And Greg, you just keep taking those Wednesdays off, what you need.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Attorney report.
I actually do have one
Good.
tonight. And I'll try to make it fast, given the lateness of the hour. But there was a change of the last legislative session to the public meetings law, and I'm finding a lot of our clients have not heard about it, so I want to tell you. They expanded the Ethics Commission's enforcement authority to the entire public meetings law. Just be executive sessions. That's the bad news. The good news is if anybody wants to complain about it, they have to complain to us first and have us address it before they can file with the ethics. So that's good. They codified the what I call the handy test, and that's the rule from the court cases that you can't have serial meetings outside of a public meeting. And so that's in the statute now, and it's enforceable by the Ethics Commission. So be extra special careful. We're talking to your colleagues not to try to cook up a decision outside of a meeting, and particularly don't do it in email.
Don't write it down.
Right. Yeah. So it's just important. I just want to reiterate that there's a new regime. Oh, the last thing is every governing body that has a public body that has a budget of more than, I think it's $1 million, has to have annual public meetings training. And the Ethics Commission is supposed to set that up. I have no idea what the process is, but that's just something to look forward to as another bit of your city service. So that's it.
Very much looking forward to that, actually.
Well, it could be fun.
Yeah.
Well, council, thank you for that update. Probably worthwhile that we.
Yeah, it went into
Cash
effect on
in the
January
mattress
first.
or cash in the bank?
What, pardon?
Is that cash under the mattress or in the bank?
Oh, $1 billion, $1 billion. Yeah, no, it's the council slush fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that? Being interrupted by a bank manager.
You were saying it was
The what?
council slush.
Oh, I see. Council.
Mayor, council comments,
I'm good.
council?
Yes.
Well, just any comments, I do want to, make an observation here tonight, please. And that is, this, Greg's comments, on the, weather. Those, my observation, and Greg and I have talked about this, and staff, I'm glad you're here. You know, you don't get better and you don't fix things by not recognizing them. The first thing you do is you got to recognize it and start talking about why that happened and what we can do better next time. But the courage to, for Greg to come in here tonight and really take the whole thing on his shoulders. While I don't believe it's all on Greg's shoulders, but the courage for him to come in here and carry that was impressive and really represents why the character of a leader. There's all kinds of ways to lead, but the character usually comes out in tough situations. True character comes out when the chips are down and there's been maybe a problem or things didn't quite work out right. So as staff moves forward in the study of this, the first thing and the best thing we could ask for as a council is to have our city manager and staff not try to hide anything. Being forthright, transparent, and public about what we didn't get right and the kinds of things maybe we did do things right too, but what we're doing to improve that. So just my thanks to Greg and the staff for being forthright, honest, and showing that integrity as a result of this winter storm. So thank you. With that, unless there's anything else, Councilor Rio Campos? Nope. We are adjourned.